Hello, my name is Mary Lee Vieda, and I am going to talk to you a bit about meaningful learning and effectiveness in virtual learning spaces. I'm going to share an experience that we have had in Mackenzie Presbyterian University with our students in the online digital learning spaces. It is specifically an experience that we theorized upon from our teacher development classes for math, language, pedagogy, and our students are adults, students that are studying to be teachers, and we decided to research a bit how they lead with their learning process. How is it meaningful, and how does affectivity interact in the digital learning spaces? Antonio Nova, a researcher from Portugal, said in one of his talks that we have, through technology, the instruments and conditions that we did not have in the 20th century to fulfill our pedagogical creed. What is that pedagogical creed? We want our students to be autonomous. We want them to be makers, authors of their own learning process. Now, with all the technology, with the access to information at a fingertip, we know that we can organize a learning process that will permit and provocate our students to be authors of their own learning process. And this will probably give them more meaningful learning experiences. Every new human being who enters the world is inserted into an environment in which other generations of human beings have created ways of socially thinking and acting. By having their behavior mediated by cultural artifacts, language being the master artifact, human beings, in addition to benefiting from their own sensory experience in relation to the world, also benefit from the experiences of those who preceded them. The social world, which is based on communication, is of crucial importance in this process. Well, we live in a world where technological instruments have become part of our daily lives. They multiply and they intensify the communication and the language that we use to give meaning to our experiences. Therefore, we teachers are receiving human beings who necessarily are more experienced in the use of technological equipments than we are. We know how to use these technological equipments in our daily lives, but we necessarily have not learned how to use them in the learning experiences. And our students want them to be part of their learning experiences because it makes it possible for them to be authors of their process. Well, therefore we come about with a few questions that we are going to try to answer throughout this speech. Can we demonstrate affectivity in virtual learning spaces? Is affectivity so essential in learning for the adult? What is affectivity and what is its relation to learning? How can we think about meaningful learning experiences without thinking about affectivity? Affectivity is something that is present in our daily teacher-student experiences in present class situations. But in virtual situations, how can affectivity be an element of essential and meaningful learning experiences? Well, for the adult, meaning is essential for learning. How can we establish meaning in the experience of learning for an adult? What do we mean by meaningful learning? meaningful learning will need the interaction between three important aspects: affectivity, language, and mediation. They are tools for the establishment of meaning in the learning process. To be effective with an adult student demands attending his intellectual and his cognitive desires for development and for knowledge. An adult doesn't come to an experience of learning if he doesn't need to. He comes to the learning space, be it virtual or be it presential, to learn something because he has an intellectual desire. In the human development, each phase reveals one aspect that of desire that needs to be satisfied. In a baby, it will be physical. It will be motor, locomotive needs. For a small child from 7 to 8 years old, his intellectual desires, his curiosity needs to be satisfied. And for an adolescent, his emotions need to be satisfied. He needs to feel being part of something. For an adult, it is once again his intellectual desire, his desire to understand the social environment in which he is living and how he can grow and learn more about his world and about his areas of study. Therefore, to be effective in each one of these different phases of life is to satisfy the desire that motivates the development of the person. For the adult, it is a cognitive desire. It is an intellectual desire that we need to satisfy. And when we do so, we will be being effective. We will be embracing this adult. Therefore, for adults to learn, they need to interact with emotions. They need to be conscious and perceptive of the experiences they are living and how these experiences convey or are motivated by his emotions, by his needs. Learning takes place when an adult becomes conscious and gives meaning to what he is learning, and when he describes his experience in an emotional and effective manner, and finally when he recognizes the experience that he lived. Affection gains expression through teacher-student interactions around students' intellectual inquiries and curiosities, in a way that while enhancing and opening new windows of thoughts, teachers will be being effective with their students. We need to make it possible for our students to express themselves, express their doubts, express their intellectual desires, express their fears of not knowing the aspects they think they need to know, and to be conscious of what ways, what manners, what trails they are going through to learn, to experience that learning process that they are living. That will make them establish meaning in their learning process, and that will be effective, that will be embracing for them. Relationships between students and teachers that pay attention and care about these students, that enable students' expressions of thought, make it possible for significant learning experiences. We need to create intentionally spaces and situations that will make our students express themselves, express emotion, express experiences, and gain conscience of what they are learning. The adult learner uses images to construct and give meaning to that which he learns. For these images establish a relation between the interior, irrational world with his consciousness. Therefore, adult students need to say, boy, I was really afraid. I felt a butterfly in my stomach when the teacher asked me that question and I had to write an essay answering it, and I didn't feel sure. I got a headache when I started to study because I wasn't used to studying that much anymore. Uh, in a way, they need to express through images what they are feeling, and that enables them to express their emotions and to establish meaning. Images convey emotions and feelings and therefore potentialize the capacity for one to establish meaning for a determined learning situation or reality. Knowing this helps to integrate curriculum, making the learning process more significant. That is our role as teachers, to organize the virtual space in a manner that these students will be able to express themselves, to gain consciousness of what they are saying and what they are learning and how they are developing. In virtual learning spaces, it is the interaction among other students and teachers that students' affectivity appear, principally in moments designated for forum and chat. I know that there are many other objects of learning in virtual learning spaces that make it possible for interaction. My guess is that in any way that you can make interaction possible through videos, through small time videos, will make it possible for students to learn. Online mediation and pedagogical intentionality. We are going to try to demonstrate to you what we did in our school to try to bring forth affectivity and meaningful learning for adults in virtual learning spaces in our course through intentionality that we developed in the course. The research was done in a course that was not compulsory. It was a voluntary course entitled Study Methods for Virtual Students. This course was offered for our students in licensure in language, pedagogy, philosophy, history, and math. It was done in the first semester of 2017 with about 109 participants. And we are going to bring you just a few of these speeches. If you want to see more in our paper, we have a bit more developed. Our analysis was done in around the main forum where they interacted and the first thematic forum about my impressions about virtual learning spaces, and finally about the registration that they did in their own learning experiences. First of all, our teacher provoked the students with a speech. Dear students, be very welcome to the subject Methods for Distance Learning. I am Professor Maria, and I will be with you during this course, which is very important for those who decided to study in this modality. At this first moment, I want to ask each of you to introduce yourself, tell us the course you are doing, what is the region, the pole that you are talking from, and if you accept this invitation, I'm sure we'll have great times. Virtual hugs, Maria. The students reacted to her provocation and they started to introduce themselves, and you can see they start telling about who they are. They are married, they have children, they have jobs. Most of our students are in a second undergraduate program course, so they are a bit more mature, but they express, I have a desire to learn, to meet people, and to see their experiences. It's Tanya's speech. Another student, Luana, says that she is 35 years old, that she has children, that she has worked with children as a nurse but she wants another experience in her life, that she remembers that she liked math. So she starts to share with the group about her idiosyncrasies. Someone else comes on and says, "Good afternoon, everyone. I'm studying pedagogy. I had distance learning course for language some 10 years ago, but I did not conclude it. I always kept thinking pedagogy in my mind, but I did not have a chance to do it before. When I learned that this institution would have online course, I got excited and didn't think twice. I'm very excited about the course, etc., etc., etc." So you see that they are becoming acquainted with each other and knowing particular aspects of the people that are going to study in this virtual space that becomes not so virtual anymore, becomes a place where the interaction makes it possible for expression of emotions. Someone comes in and says, "Hello, Juliana, nice to meet you. I thought it was cool that you shared a bit about your life and your routine. I believe that this experience with face-to-face learning in your past is positive because just as you had dedication in a present classroom, you will have it with the distance learning." And so they start to incentivize each other. They even laugh. They talk about, they make jokes with each other. "I am feeling kind of lost without knowing where to start, but I am grateful that the teacher was sensitive and helped me to organize myself with my activities." So the students start also to interact again with the teacher and say they are grateful. This is already in a final discussion of this forum where they are telling about their experiences and how they feel about being in this virtual space. Well, final considerations. The affectivity, the emotion, and the appreciation and imagination are present in adult learning experiences. The interaction in virtual learning spaces with pedagogical mediation is better facilitated, and the participation and sharing of experiences, as well as collaboration among students, is enhanced with quality. So learning spaces, virtual spaces, if well organized and intentionally organized, may be stronger to provoke adult students into meaningful learning experiences. The affectivity was built during the course through the mediation done by the teacher in an intentional way, with the goal to promote expression of the learning situations experienced in a meaningful way. I want to thank you for your attention, and I hope that you can read our paper, and if you have any doubts, please enter in contact with us in our emails. Thank you so much.